The A above middle C buzzes faintly when the lamp is on. It always has. You lean a little left, avoid the buzz with a soft wrist, and the note blooms clean. I learned that at 10, on a rainy Thursday, with my socks pooling around my ankles and Mrs. Holloway tapping a pencil against her front tooth. The buzz is the first thing I think about when the photo loads. Our Yamaha U1, black lacquer reflecting the dining room chandelier like a crescent moon. The Facebook Marketplace caption reads, "Upright piano, excellent condition. $800 OBO. Pickup only." I'm standing in the dark of my apartment kitchen, forehead against the cupboard while the kettle whines. It's 7:41 p.m. The screen cold lights my palms. In the photo, you can see the rug I bought Mom for Mother's Day. The braided blue one she said was too nautical until she laid it down and decided it looked beachy. As if that wasn't the same thing. You can see the dent in the bench where Lila dropped her curling iron 2 summers ago. You can almost hear the A. I read the caption twice, then a third time, the way your brain checks shadows for threat. I don't even have to click the profile to know. Seller, Teresa M. Before the kettle screams, my phone buzzes again. Our family group chat, Sunny Side Up, Mom named it. The one with the little sunflower icon she thinks is whimsical. The preview banners across the top before I can blink. Mom. Sold the piano. Don't be upset, sweetheart. It's just a thing. The spa needed a deposit for Lila's bridal party today, and this seemed smart. We'll get you a new one after the wedding. Also, can you handle the playlist for the shower? Love you. Sunflower. Warm lemon-scented steam fogs my glasses. The kettle switches off with a click like a metronome stopped. I set the phone down carefully, as if it might explode. Just a thing. The thing I learned Chopin on when my hands were too small for his reach. The thing I played when Dad worked late and Mom hummed against a stack of bills. The thing that kept my fingers moving through storms we didn't have names for yet. My thumb trembles and I steady it. I tap back into the listing, into the comments. Anton. Still available? Teresa M. Yes. First come, first served. Needs 2 strong guys. Kara. That's a steal. Teresa M. Trying to bless someone. We're simplifying before the big day. I don't write anything in the comments. I just stare at the glossy reflection of a chandelier that I now hate. The group chat bubbles again. Lila. You're the best, Mom. I'll pay you back after the honeymoon. I can't wait for the spa day. OMG. Also, Ava says the shower venue will let us do a photo booth. Dad. Decisive move. Tear. Proud of you. Practical solution. We'll rent a keyboard for the shower for Nora to jazz it up. Mom. Perfect. Nora, you can handle that, right? Also, could you bring that chocolate-dipped strawberry platter everyone loved at Easter? Kiss, kiss. The small spoon in my mug rattles against porcelain. In my chest, something careful shifts. A tectonic plate grinding under a city that doesn't know it's not bolted to bedrock. I pick up my phone. My finger hovers over the message window where typing would make everything worse. Instead, I open my photo roll. There, from 3 years ago, me and the U1. My hands on a D minor chord. The plant on top, corny, I know, reflected in the lid. Mom, off camera, catching me mid-laugh because Dad had just said, "Play that one, the sad, pretty one," and I had rolled my eyes and played Debussy like it was a joke and a prayer at the same time. I scroll further back, to 12, to 8. Birthday candles, recital shoes that pinch, a faded program where my name is misspelled as Noria, and still the notes were mine. Just a thing. The kettle clicks again, mindless. My phone vibrates with another ping. Mom. Sweetheart? You saw this, yes? Don't overthink. We'll make it up to you, promise. Also, could you swing by the bakery tomorrow? They need final flavor counts. I open the chat. I type. I erase. I type again. What comes out is a single small word that looks unremarkable on a screen and feels like a stone thrown through glass. Me. No. For a moment, the thread is a graveyard. Then, Mom. No what? Me. No, I will not handle the playlist, the strawberries, or the keyboard. No. Dad's typing bubbles. They appear, disappear, reappear like a heartbeat. Dad. Nora, don't be dramatic. We're already stretched thin. Just be a team player. I watch the bubbles blink, like a signal in fog. I put the phone face down on the counter and listen to the city hum. I hold the no in my mouth like hard candy, bitter then bright. It's tiny. It's everything. It lands with a thunk in the middle of our family script and the lines forget their marks. My hands are steady now. I make tea. I do not cry. When I've finished the cup, I pick up the phone again, open Marketplace, and send a message to the seller, who is also my mother. Hi, I'll pick it up. I hit send before I can be polite enough to swallow my own tongue. The 3 dots blossom into a sentence so fast it feels pre-written. Mom. Seller. Oh, honey. It's already gone. A teacher picked it up right after dinner. But don't worry, we'll get you something nice later. Maybe digital. It's lighter. The tea goes acid in my throat. Me. What teacher? Mom. He said he plays at the Marigold Hotel Lounge sometimes? Very nice. He said it was a Yamaha U1. See? Good taste runs in the family. XOXO. I stare at the last 3 letters as if they've been typed by a stranger. The Marigold is where Lila's bridal shower will be. The Marigold is where a man who knows how to move a U1 without breaking its spine might be on any given Friday, playing standards to couples sharing desserts with 2 spoons. I close the chat, open another. Priya, my coworker, my once-a-week faux date, my person who can text an address and a favor in one breath. Random question, I write. You still know the piano guy who tunes for the Marigold? Her reply is a voice memo, warm and fast. Do I know him? Babe, I owe Marco my soul. He fixed our ancient upright for the gala in under an hour. Why? I step into the still kitchen and breathe. Because my parents sold my childhood piano for my sister's spa day, I say. To the room, to the lemon steam, to the years I made myself useful until I disappeared. And I'm going to buy it back. I don't know how yet, but my hands are steady. The A above middle C will buzz if you let the lamp sit wrong. Move slightly left. Avoid the buzz. Play clean. Tomorrow, we tune. The next morning, I turn on every light in my apartment and pull out a pen. The simple act of arranging a legal pad and stacking bills in a neat column calms me in a way meditation apps never will. A row of paper becomes a runway. Planes can land there. Receipts I have. Screenshot of the Marketplace listing with the rug and the dented bench. A photo of the U1 from last year with the serial number peeking in the reflection if you squint. The sunny side up thread where Mom says sold and Dad says practical. 3 Venmo receipts where I paid for Lila's bridal shower decor, reimburse later. In March, April, and May. A text from Mom in June. You understand about paying for your own bridesmaid dress, right? We're hosting so many events for Lila. We need to spread the love. Receipts I need. Proof of sale. Who took the U1, where it went, what it sold for. The spa invoice, if it exists, with deposit date. The lounge pianist. Confirmation that he's the teacher. A moving company willing to do a Sunday job in a downtown hotel, discreetly. At 9:12 a.m., Priya texts me Marco's number with 3 heart emojis, and one piano emoji as if they're interchangeable. He likes cortados, she adds, and women who respect instruments like they're living things. At 9:17, I call. He picks up on the second ring. This is Marco. Hi, I'm a friend of Priya's. I think you might have picked up a Yamaha U1 last night from a woman named Teresa. There's a pause on the line, then the softest laugh. Let me guess, he says. You know the rug? Yes. Nice piano, he says almost to himself. Some kid learned with discipline on that thing. Somebody kept the action honest. A's a little buzzy. Lamp's too heavy. I exhale, a long, shaky breath. It was me. Well, he says, we should probably fix that A and sort something out. His workshop is a concrete rectangle behind a florist that smells like eucalyptus and sawdust. When I push through the door, the air hums with guitars in various stages of undress, and one majestic grand under a quilt like an animal wintering. Marco is 30-ish, with hands that look like he can coax or carry. The U1 stands against the wall, almost offended at its sudden plainness. No photos, no plant. Naked. Hours. I touch the lid with my fingertips like you touch the shoulder of a relative you haven't seen in a decade. There's a thin line of dust where the metronome used to sit. How much did you pay? I ask, keeping my voice steady. $800, he says, blunt as a wrench. Cash. That woman wanted it gone last night, said it would save a family headache. It saved a spa deposit, I say. I wasn't judging, he says, gentle. Everyone sells evergreens when they're young. Then they realize shade takes time to grow. I want to buy it, I say. Back. He looks at me, not at the piano. I can place this for twice that if I wait a week. He says, not smug, just factual. 3 times if I lie about it being a 92 and not a 89. But I won't. It doesn't want a stranger. It knows you. I reach into my tote, pull out the legal pad notes because I am my mother's daughter in my better moments, and paper makes men take women's sentences seriously. I can pay you the $800 in cash today, I say, and $1,200 more over the next 2 months. I'll throw in 2 free playlists for the hotel lounge tailored to your setlist that will increase bar sales by 11%. I've done this for fundraisers. I will also write an honest 5-star review on every site your business exists on with photos of your best work. And I will bring you a cortado every time you tune this. He smiles with half his mouth like a magician who appreciates being shown a new trick. Sold, he says quickly, before I can sweeten the air further until we both get cavities. Then, softer. Not because of the playlists. Because you led with receipts and an A that won't be ignored. Thank you, I whisper. No, he says. Thank you for not calling it a thing. People with souls always know their instruments' birthdays. We sign a bill of sale on the back of an invoice because the printer is out of ink. The numbers look like they belong there. I hold the paper as if it's warm from the press, even though it isn't. That address for delivery? He asks. Your place? I shake my head. There's a complication. I tell him about the marigold and the bridal shower, and the family who believes my hands exist to make their days more atmospheric. I do not tell him about the year I stopped playing because my father said music was a hobby, not a life, because his face probably already knows men like that. I slide my phone across his workbench. A calendar is open. Sunday, 2 p.m. Lila's bridal shower. Marigold Hotel. Ballroom B. I don't want the piano there, I say. I want it at my apartment with the door closed, where nobody can touch it if they're not invited. But I want the exchange to happen then. I want to sign the final receipt at 3:15 p.m. in the Marigold lobby, with a notary if possible, and I want to walk back into that party and, for once, not be carrying anything except my own spine. Marco's laugh this time has more teeth. You want to buy back your life during a cake cutting. Yes. Okay, he says. I'll be in the lobby playing The Way You Look Tonight for a couple in matching linen. I'll bring the paperwork. My guys will deliver to your place at 2:30. You'll get a text when it's inside. We'll set the bench where you want it. You'll sign at 3:15. And then you'll go upstairs and tell people your Christmas card will be a photo of you not apologizing. I swallow the sudden heat behind my eyes. Also, he says, as if he's telling me the time. Don't pay me $1,200 over 2 months. Pay me when you can. You've already paid me in something better. What's that? He nods at the U1. A good home. I pull out the cash I have and he counts without comment. He writes 2 receipts. One says deposit received. The other says balance forgiven if buyer plays Debussy once a year where it matters. Where does it matter? I ask. You'll know. By the time I get back to my office, I've contacted a notary, Priya's cousin Arjun, who thinks this is the best tea of his week. Booked the elevator at my building for a furniture delivery no stairs slot, and blocked my calendar from noon to 5 for personal appointment. I have also printed the marketplace listing and hole-punched it for a folder labeled Evidence because the girl who brought extra pencils to 4th grade did not die. She just learned to hide. The Sunny Side Up chat pings all day. Cake flavors, a printable bingo game, a question about photo booth props that I ignore. At 4:36 p.m., Mom sends a photo of Lila trying on a silk robe, artfully off-shoulder, captioned, Bride Vibes, with 3 champagne emojis and 1 ring that glitters like a threat. At 5:09, Dad sends a joke about me tickling the ivories, with a winky face that makes my skin crawl. At 5:21, Lila sends a, so excited to have you play something at the shower, sis. Marco can accompany, which makes me put my phone face down and press my palm flat against my desk until my breath remembers how to do its job without my supervision. At 6:02, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Tomorrow, 2:30 delivery. Text buzz in when you're home. J&T moving, Marco's guys. At 6:03, my phone lights again. You're doing the right thing. Priya. At 6:05, another buzz. Aunt Mina, the one with the laugh that turns heads and the patience for exactly 0 nonsense. Aunt Mina. Your mother told me a sanitized version of the piano plan. I told her to sanitize this. I'm sitting next to you at the shower, not discussing napkins. Wear the dress you like, not the one they assigned. XO. I breathe, a slow, deliberate inhale that tastes like cinnamon from someone else's latte. The city outside my window is pinking. I go home. I do not practice. I sit on the floor cross-legged and make room in my living room mentally the way you move furniture before guests arrive. The next day, I wake up early. I strip the top of my bookcase, clean a rectangle, and place a small old metronome there. Just a metronome. A promise. When the movers arrive, they will not see a girl who isn't ready. At noon, I go to the Marigold to drop off a gift I've packaged deliberately. An envelope labeled for the spa with a $50 gift card, the exact amount I can give without lying to myself about what I owe. I hand it to the concierge and say, please give this to the event manager for Ballroom B, and she nods without asking for details because hotels run on 2 currencies, money and voicelessness. At 1:53 p.m., J&T text, 10 minutes. At 2:05, my buzzer blares, and at 2:08, 2 men who look like they could peel a car with their hands place the U1 in the spot I cleared and slide the bench home with the care of parents putting a sleeping child in a crib. At 2:17, one of them steps back and says, as if to himself, she lives here now. I sign their slip with the same pen I used on my legal pad and the paper doesn't wobble. At 3:01, I'm in the Marigold lobby in a dress that fits me and not a vision board. Marco sits at a glossy grand, notes rolling like marbles, and I stand by a rubber plant that has seen more secrets than a therapist. He catches my eye mid-phrase and nods toward a table by the window where a man with a neat beard and a notary stamp case opens his book like a priest. At 3:13, my phone buzzes. J&T. Delivery complete. Bench adjusted. The A buzzed. We left the lamp off. At 3:15, I sign a final piece of paper that says piano, delivered to my address, sold to me, with the serial number legible and no wiggle room between lines for later myth-making. Congratulations, Arjun says. This is the most dramatic thing I've notarized since a woman transferred a boat to her dog to spite an ex-husband. I laugh, genuinely, the sound surprising us both. Marco plays blue and green like a secret shared among friends. I slip the signed papers into my folder. I smooth my dress and walk toward the elevator, toward ballroom B, toward years of silence that will not be maintained at my expense. I am not carrying strawberries. I am carrying my spine. Ballroom B smells like hotel lemon and roses that met a budget. Every table is a vision of blush watercolors and gold script that says bride-to-be in fonts that don't exist in nature. There is a tower of tiny sandwiches like someone's fantasy of aristocracy, and a photo booth with a plastic hedge and a neon sign that reads, "Love," actually in cursive. Women in matching silk robes drift between stations like swans pretending not to have dinosaur feet. Finally! Mom air kisses near my ear without looking at my eyes, like kissing is an admin task. Help me with the favors, sweetheart. The ribbon won't tie itself. Hi, I say. I don't move. Lila squeals, high and practiced. She is luminous in white, all teeth and hair, the kind of pretty people like to help. Nora, come see the cake. I picked raspberry and cream because it's elegant. It's beautiful, I say, because truth costs nothing when it's free. I glance around. Marco's music filters in from the lobby, a silver ribbon through a sea of pink. Marco will accompany. The words had turned my stomach last night. Today, they slide off me like oil. On cue, Dad appears with a rented keyboard balanced on a dolly, a heroic expression as if he caught it with his bare hands in a flood. For one last play on the old ivories, he announces. To laughter that's a grade softer than what he expects. He doesn't notice. He never notices when the room is performing for him and when it's performing for itself. Set it over there, Mom directs, pointing to a corner near the gift table. Nora, can you test the sound? No, I say, clear, not unkind. The ribbon in Mom's hand stops mid-bow. The world doesn't. The small engine of conversation continues around us, a low hum. Somewhere, a woman laughs at a joke about honeymoon sunscreen. Dad blinks. Excuse me? No, I repeat. I'm not playing today. You're being ridiculous, Mom says, automatic. It's your sister's day. Don't make a scene. I'm not making a scene, I say. I'm making a sentence. Aunt Mina appears at my right shoulder like a truth summoned. She smiles at me, identical to the smile she used when I was 6 and brought her a treasure made of bottle caps and hope. She turns to my mother. Let the child speak, Ter. I like how she says child as if it means citizen. Lila's face flickers and then resets to sweet bride. Nora, she coos in the voice she uses for viral content. If this is about the piano, and I know Mom told you not to worry, we really are going to get you something nicer, like digital, and it will actually be better because you can plug in headphones. That way you won't bother your neighbors, and you can practice any time. Her eyes shine, a halo of reasonableness around a void. It's not about practice, I say. It's about theft. Gasps are a social currency in rooms like this. Someone spends one. Mom's smile goes corporate. Let's step outside, she hisses as if I am 12 and about to say uterus. We can stay here, I say. Anything I say in the hallway, I can say in the light. The room hushes. then hums again at a higher pitch, like a hive deciding whether to swarm or ignore. My childhood piano was sold for a spa deposit, I say. It is not just a thing. It is the instrument I learned discipline and refuge on. I did not consent to it being sold, and I will not be playing some rented keyboard today to provide ambience for a party funded by the theft of my labor. Mom flushes a kind of pale I have seen before, when the visa is declined, and she says loudly that the machine is broken. "We have made so many sacrifices for you," she says. "We have done everything for our girls. Sometimes hard choices are necessary." I reach into my tote, into evidence. I pull out the printed marketplace listing, the screenshot of her profile with the words, "Bless someone," the group chat where Dad called it practical, the photo of the dim reflection of the chandelier in glossy black hand wiped by me for a decade. I slide them onto the nearest table with the slow patience of a dealer in a quiet casino. I do not throw. I do not scatter. I place. The air around paper changes when paper means something. "I have receipts," I say. A murmur travels like wind. A woman near the favors table whispers, 800? Like it's a crime or a bargain. "We are not doing this now," Dad says, puffing his chest as if space can be reclaimed with posture. "This is your sister's day." "I agree," I say, which is why I handled this before I walked in. I pull out the notary page, the bill of sale, my copy of the delivery slip. The ink gleams faintly. The stamps look like authority, which we pretend they are. "At 3:15 p.m., I say, in your hotel lobby, while you are assembling advice cards that say, 'Don't go to bed angry,' I finalized the purchase of my piano from the man you sold it to. It is in my apartment. It will stay there. I will not be performing today. I will not be providing labor to make this theft palatable." Lila's lips part. Her eyes finally land on something that isn't her. For a second, just one, she looks like my little sister in our shared bedroom, asking me to switch beds because she had a bad dream. I feel the old reflex, the one where I fix everything with a song. C's dance shoes. I inhale. The reflex passes through me like a weather system instead of an identity. "You bought it back?" she whispers, like a child who lost a balloon and discovered there's a second sky. "Yes." "How?" Dad demands, as if logistics are either currency or sorcery, and he hates both when he didn't orchestrate them. "With money and a plan," I say, "and other people's kindness." "You're being vindictive," Mom hisses. "I'm being clear." Aunt Mina picks up the listing paper and reads it like scripture. 800, she says flatly. "A Yamaha U1. Teresa." Mom blanches further, the color of spilled milk. "I didn't know the number mattered," she says, which is what you say when you know numbers always matter and they implicate you. Lila's eyes swim. "I didn't know," she says. "I swear." Then, softly, "I just sent Mom links to what I wanted." The room tilts. Honesty does that. It shifts the furniture. I nod. "I believe you," I say to her, and mean it. For a moment, just a breath, we are two girls at a keyboard sharing silent jokes about Dad's sad, pretty song. "But this is how it will go," I continue. "After this party, I am going home to my piano. I am celebrating with people who do not require me to bleed to make their joy shinier. If you want me to be part of your wedding, it will be because you want me, not because you want a soundtrack. I am not a playlist. I am not a centerpiece. I am not a deposit." A woman near the cake says "Amen" under her breath. It's small. It matters. Mom opens her mouth, but Aunt Mina's hand touches her wrist with ordinary pressure that could move mountains if applied for years. "Tear," she says. You will not speak unless you can do it like Nora just did, with sentences that aren't daggers hidden in bows. I'm your mother, Mom says, almost to herself, like a spell that used to work and suddenly doesn't light. And I'm your daughter, I say, which is why you will be invited to my home when you can walk in without assessing surfaces for usefulness. The room breathes as one organism you can hear from the inside. Someone sniffs. Someone adjusts a strap. Someone texts a sister under the table. I do not break eye contact with the woman whose exceptional talent is pretending everything she wants is actually everyone's responsibility. I brought you this, I say to Lila and hand her the envelope labeled for the spa. $50, because I'm 30 and this is what I can give without lying to myself. Consider it my blessing if you will, but not my permission to mistake my generosity for obligation. Tears touch the rims of her eyes, then hold like water in a glass just before it spills. She takes the envelope. She nods, a small testimony. Okay, she says, to me, not to the room. The DJ, who is not a DJ but a man with an iPad, clears his throat through the microphone. Time for the newlywed game? He tries valiantly, like a man bailing a boat with a spoon. Time for cake? Aunt Mina says brightly, and the room, grateful for instructions that don't wound, moves as rehearsed into the part where sugar lays a gauze on everything. I step back. I do not serve plates. I do not fetch napkins. I stand beside a woman I pay to shape my eyebrows twice a year and admire the economy of her work. We discuss nothing meaningful, and it feels like oxygen. During the toasts, when attention shifts to the front and the ritual of praising a future that will be real and pretend in equal measure, I slip into the lobby. Marco modulates into something that sounds like forgiveness and doesn't try to be. He glances up. I tilt my head toward the elevator, toward my car keys in my bag. Play it, he says, quiet, bare. For you. I sit on the bench next to him for 3 beats, my hands folded in my lap as if they belong to a woman who doesn't play. Then I stand. I do not want to make hotel lobbies sacred just so my family can profit from hearing. Another time, I say. Somewhere else. He nods, like a man who trusts that the snow will fall in its own good time without help. In the elevator, my reflection looks like a woman who returned something alive to its best climate. In the garage, my car smells like pine because I bought a ridiculous air freshener shaped like a tree yesterday on purpose. Because trees are slow and sure and obvious in a way that makes me feel safe. At 4:27 p.m., I unlock my apartment door and step into a room that hums. The U1 is there. The A above middle C will buzz if the lamp sits wrong. The lamp is off. I sit. I place both hands on the keys. I do not play anything anyone recognizes. I play a scale, slowly, deliberately, because sometimes the song is the ground you lay for later. The first note is clean. The second is cleaner. The third blooms like a promise you write only for yourself. The A still buzzes a little if you forget and put a vase on top. I forget sometimes. Then I remember. I move it. I adjust. If you confess to notes the way they are instead of the way you wish they'd sit, they reward you with honesty. It's November again. The air has that cut apple clarity that makes you want to make things from scratch just to know you can. My living room is a small republic of things I chose. Mismatched chairs that know they are siblings anyway. A rug I got on sale that insists on sliding until I put a pad under it and it sighs into place. A bookshelf that holds more music than novels now. On top of the Yamaha U1 sits nothing. Room for sound. On the wall above the bench, I hung a photo in a simple black frame. Me, Aunt Mina, Priya and Marco crowded around the piano with paper cups of cheap champagne. The night we did an unadvertised recital in my apartment to celebrate paperwork and spines. We raised a toast to ends that are actually beginnings, and then played small songs we loved for each other, like people introduce old friends to new friends. This is how the holidays go now. Potluck with no performance. I host Thanksgiving with the strictest rule my house has ever known. The cook does not fetch. And people both understand and obey because I model it with my hands unapologetically empty and my plate full. I call it a ceremony of mutual plates and write it on the invitation like it's engraved. We eat too much, and it's fine. We say what we're grateful for, and nobody lists me like a domestic appliance. Lila texts me sometimes. Not selfies, she saves those for her audience. Real things. A photo of a plant she thought she'd kill and didn't. A voice memo from a coffee line where she whispers, "Do weddings feel like cover bands?" And giggles when a stranger glares. Once, a photo of a secondhand bookshelf she assembled crooked and loves anyway. In spring, she sent a quiet message. "I'm sorry. I thought love meant center stage. Your love looks like standing at the edge until you choose otherwise. I didn't know there was choosing." Learning. I stared at it until my eyes went tired, then replied, "Learning too." Because we all are. Because contrition that comes with attention is worth catching. My parents orbit. It's strange at first, the way planets behave when you move their sun with one gentle push. In February, Mom asked if she could stop by to talk about Easter plans. I asked what she meant by talk. "Listen and contemplate," she said, and my suspicion set down its fork. When she came, she stood in my doorway a long moment like visitors do in old churches. She saw the piano. She put her hands in her coat pockets like she was a little cold even though my heat was on. "It's beautiful," she said. And then, careful, almost reverent, I didn't know how to respect what I didn't own. "Now you do," I said, not cruel. She nodded. She did not ask me to play. We sat at my kitchen table and I made her tea, and when she asked what she could bring to Easter, I said, "A salad you actually like." And she laughed and said, "I like none of them." And we settled on crusty bread because everybody knows how to tear. Dad took longer. He always takes longer and then pretends he arrived on time. In June, he texted, "What's the name of that sad, pretty song?" And 3 minutes later, Debussy. Right? I sent a link to Claire de Lune. He sent a thumbs-up emoji that was both ridiculous and exactly enough. In September, he called me. Actually called, like a person who understands tone is a tool. "Your mother wants to come to your Thanksgiving," he said straightforward. "Can we help?" "Not money. Elbow." "You've never said it like that," I said. "I've never been asked to." "Bring ice," I said, "and leave with your containers." He laughed, surprised, and the sound came out younger than either of us. "Deal," he said. At Thanksgiving, they arrived 15 minutes late with ice and 2 casseroles in glass that looked like they had traveled through many winters. Mom tried to hand me a dish. I pointed to the counter. "Set it down," I said. She did without instruction. Aunt Mina kissed my cheek and whispered, "Look at them being human." Priya stole a crescent roll with the stealth of a thief, and Marco tuned the A with his fingertip out of habit, and then stopped. A small apology that didn't need to be said out loud. We sat at the table with mismatched plates and shared what we were grateful for, like a form we fill without lying. When it was Dad's turn, he looked at me, and then at the piano, and then back at me. "I'm grateful for different music," he said, stumbling, clearly off book. "For the kind that doesn't perform for anyone." It was a clumsy sentence. It was so beautiful I had to look into my water glass for a moment, as if there were notes at the bottom I'd been trying to sight read for years. After dinner, Lila stood in the doorway between dining room and living room like she used to when we were kids, blocking the frame like a theater kid making her entrance fearful of missing her cue. "Can I?" She gestured to the piano with a tilt of her head that contained actual permission inside it, like a seed in a pod. "You can sit," I said. "You can watch. You can listen. You cannot post." She smiled with her mouth only, a new shape, and nodded. She sat on the floor like a child, cross-legged, her white sweater pooled around her like a cloud lowered to earth where people trip over them. My friends sprawled. My parents stayed at the table, hands around mugs. I played. Not for them. Not against them either. For me. For the girl who had learned to move the lamp left so the A wouldn't buzz. For the year-old version of me who stood in a lobby and chose a paper with her name on it instead of a job without one. For the woman who will keep choosing. I did not play Debussy. I played something that came out of my hands because my hands had something to say that didn't require translation. It wasn't perfect. It was honest. When I finished, nobody clapped because I hadn't performed. They breathed. I breathed. The room held us like a bowl holds what's warm. Later, when people put on coats and wrapped leftovers like small truce flags, Mom brushed her palm over the piano's side, tenderly, like you touch a friend on the way out, not because you need to claim them, but because you want to remind yourself you exist. "Thank you for inviting us," she said, the kind of thank you that contains relational math that might one day balance. "Thank you for coming," I said, like a person whose house is her boundaries and not her burden. At the door, Dad hesitated, then blurted, "Proud of you," as if the words might explode before they landed. My chest did something foolish and mammalian. I nodded, because sometimes kindness deserves a quiet landing. After the last container left and the metronome sat unwound in its small, dignified triangle, I washed my hands and wiped the counter and turned off the lamp. The A above middle C was clean. No buzz. I sat back down, alone in a room that's no longer a stage. I placed my hands on the keys the way you place a hand on someone's back when they're falling asleep. Steady, not asking for anything. On my phone, a text from Lila. "Send me your bread recipe? I want to try it next Sunday. Also, is there a Debussy that sounds like rain without being sad?" "Yes," I wrote. Arabesque number 1. Start slow. I put the phone face down. I looked at the wall photo where my face is in the center, not because I muscled my way into the frame, but because the frame is my house. I thought about Marco's bill of sale that says balance forgiven if buyer plays Debussy once a year where it matters, and laughed, because everything matters when you love it like groceries and not like a museum. I played. The first notes of Arabesque number 1 are like steps on soft grass. They don't demand a spotlight. They reveal a path that was already there. At 9:18 p.m., my upstairs neighbor sent a text. "Sounded beautiful. P.S. No buzz." At 9:19, I replied, "Moved the lamp." I closed the keyboard cover, not gently, not hard, just enough. The world outside kept doing what it does. Sirens, distant laughter, a train that sounded like someone telling a long story in another room. I went to the kitchen. I washed a single mug. I turned off the light. This is my life. Chosen, not assigned. A room with a piano that isn't just a thing. A family that might someday learn how to be a family with me inside it, or not. Friends who already know. The metronome on the bookcase is unwound. It will be there tomorrow. Not to command. To count if I ask. I am not a playlist. I am not a deposit. I am not the background to anyone else's scene. I am the whole song, minus the buzz.